Concept of Hur. Okay. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So, today's topic is paradise. So, in Quran, paradise and hell are being mentioned quite a bit. And we had some questions about them. So I can take more questions from you, as I will read the questions first, but we can maybe add more. The questions that we collected so far: is paradise the goal for being righteous? And Dua was asking or quoting Imam Ali's sentence or statement saying that worshiping God for just purely for the sake of the Creator, not for attaining paradise. So, and Abdullah was asking a similar question last week. Actually, as it always happens, Abdullah's atheist friend was asking the question, saying that, like, isn't it like it to benefit worldly type of a thing that you are trying to become righteous in here so that you're going to get paradise at the end? So, like, what's the point? And as a follow-up to this one would have been, say, if now you're in the paradise, you have everything. So if everything is now going to be attainable in paradise and it is eternal, wouldn't it become boring after some point? Like, oh, again, best food, come on. So, like, what is the point of an eternal paradise then? About the imagery of paradise, let me first read these. Imagery of paradise, Dua apparently not too happy with milk. So she says, what's the point of having a river of milk or honey? Like, why is the depiction of paradise as such is represented? So what does that mean? Why not Iran? Why not a river of iPhone, or I don't know, right? So different gadgets that we would be more happy nowadays to see rather than a gallon of milk, right? So, and then there was another question: if you can have anything in paradise, why is those specific imagery chosen in Quran? Like iPhone 15 is what I desire, and if paradise is going to be a place where everything is going to be there, why didn't mention those specifics, but more so talking about like honey and whatnot? And Qadir, being Qadir, asked the question about why is there imagery of those Hur al-Ain, like the and very interesting imagery of Hur al-Ain actually, as the Prophet describes the beauty of Hur al-Ain. It's a very weird description of beauty actually. Says they're going to be so beautiful that they will have 70 layers of garment, but under those 70 layers of garment, you will be able to see the, what do they say, bone marrows, and you will enjoy their bone marrows. Like, would you enjoy somebody's bone marrow? Like, what does that mean? It's a very interesting imagery that's being depicted. And it's talking about 7 layers of garment, yet you enjoy all these 7 layers. On top of that, you enjoy whatever is even inside their bones, which is bone marrow. Very interesting imagery, really, when it comes to paradise. And then another question was, is paradise a rightfully earned reward, or is it a gift? Like, I will work hard and I will win paradise. Is this the idea? Or no matter how hard you work, you do not deserve it, but you're being gifted with paradise? This is another question. Likewise, because hell is being described as something that you deserve. You do something wrong and you rightfully enter hell, but nobody rightfully enters paradise. This is another thing that's being mentioned. So how come? And Dua being the advocate of people of hell, she was saying that is eternal hell fair? Was her question. Her impression was that people will go there, I mean, will get burned here and there for a few million years, but afterwards it's a finite amount of years, and because they did a crime in a finite life, so their punishment should or could be a finite punishment. After a few billion years, they would say, okay, you're good to go, now go to paradise. Why this is not the case? Why Quran is saying that they're going to stay in the hell forever? Khalidina fiha abada. Yeah.
Hell is a mercy of God,
Mm.
and how like non-existence would be like the real problem. Um, but that also makes sense. Like if you, yes, you go to hell, you serve your crime, you do the time, and then you're out. And then you're like, okay, you can look back and you're like, okay, I deserve that punishment, and now you're happy and whatever. That seems to be, like the merciful outcome. But if you're gonna get existence, and then you're gonna burn for like all of existence, that just seems like that does not seem very merciful.
Okay. So details of hell, maybe we can make another hell episode because hell is also by itself a thing. And totally. Good, very good question. Are we going to be, let's write it down here. Let's write it here. Are humans going to be in paradise as humans with their humanity as they are on earth? Okay. Good, good, good. Yes.
Maybe we could also talk about rules a little bit,
Rules. What
because it
rules?
seems like the rules that we have on this in this life, right? The things that we have been trained to like as Muslims, like for example, eating in moderation, or like being the one woman man, for example, right?
Okay.
It seems that when you go to paradise, like they're kind of disbanded, because you can eat whatever you want to. There are these rivers of honey and milk that you can take from. There are these like whores that you can have, like it just seems like everything that I was trained to like as a Muslim, like all of a sudden, like all that goes away in paradise. Like I'm sort of being reduced to my base desires, and like given my base needs. Like if I don't know what are rules.
Yes,
But at the same time, paradise also, I think, has some rules, because we know that when Adam and Eve were first in paradise, or the Garden of Eden, they had a rule: don't eat this apple. So are the rules different? Like what's going on there?
What sort of a paradise Adam and Eve were in? Yes, Kadir.
The question is, if I can wish anything, can I wish someone who's in hell to be in paradise?
Okay. Okay. Kadir question. Who are you planning to bring in, Kadir?
I'm going to ask someone to bring me there.
Oh, okay. And give me the name of the guy. I'll push the guy not to ask that. Okay. Good. So we had quite a number of questions. It looks like interesting. We have questions. That's good. And let me ask more fundamental of a question. Like the idea of paradise and hell. Why would Quran talk about such a thing in the first place? Like it's from let's try to answer this question in the light of why we are here on earth. Yeah.
Because like that's a good way to learn, or like the way we typically learn, you know, like seeking a reward, seeking a goal, and then like being repelled by the punishment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's encouragement to do good or be on the path of Islam. So it's like when you're following the path of Islam, or when you have God as like a priority in your life, or you're worshiping, right? You feel this sense of satisfaction, peace. Your fitra is like, you know what, that my compass is aligning with this. This is correct. This is the way to live. But if the reward of paradise or even that encouragement is not there, you might not walk the path and know it for what it is. You know, so yes, I do, like going back to Imam Ali's call, I do believe that yes, you should worship God for God because he is worth worshiping. But I also think as humans, because we tend to, you know, like go to our base desires and, you know, like tend to like go off the right path, you do need that encouragement. And when you have that encouragement, you will slowly realize that, you know, this is not my goal, this is not why I'm doing it, I should do it for this reason.
So let me ask the question in a different way. Because recently, like a student came and like this is week 5, we are almost about to have midterm. And the student said he did really bad with the course so far, and he is looking for a way to recover. And he said the reason for him performing bad in the class was because at the beginning of the term, some health problem came up and they couldn't diagnose it. And it was something in, let's say, one internal organ. And people are freaking out if this happens, right? Is it a cancer? Am I going to die? And students said that, well, I didn't have any motivation for being successful in the class. Because at the end, if it's going to become nothing, if I'm going to die by the end of the term or 2 years, I'm not really going to make use of your class anyways. Why shall I put effort? Like, what's the point? So paradise and hell means eternal life. Like one way or another, it means eternal life. Without eternal life, why would you bother anything in this life? Like if going this way or going that way, it doesn't matter, but 60 years, 70 years, 80 years later, it's going to be over. Why would you bother about anything really? Like if you were in a cell, YouTube suggests those weird videos. So it was talking about how capital punishment is in Japan. So the guy is, so the guy is there and they say that, okay, you're going to be hanged at some point, but they never tell you when. So it's such a torture for that person. They say it's so cruel. At least tell the guy a date so that they can have some sort of a meaningful life. This is how we are here. Everybody in this room is going to be killed at some point. Like, is anybody here planning to live forever in the life in this world? No, right? And you don't know when they're going to knock your door, like Japanese style, right? So every newborn is inflicted with the disease of death at some point, and we don't know when. And if there is no eternal life, if there is no point, the life really sucks. if you take it, even no hell, no paradise, no nothing, and just annihilation, total annihilation after you die, and you don't know when you will die. Such a horrible world, really. Such a worldview is enough to make a person go nuts if you think about it. You're going to feel like that person in the cell, in the prison cell, who is in death row and doesn't know when they will get killed, right? So this is why afterlife makes life meaningful and purposeful. Because you say, oh, because I have the desire for living forever, and it looks like that desire in there was not put pointlessly. There must exist an eternal life, which is matching for this one. And then I should have a purpose in the eternal life too. Okay, the paradise guy came. Abdullah, we have been waiting for you. We are talking about Jannah. Come in, come in. Your question, Jannah. We are talking about Jannah. Yeah, your question, your atheist friend's question, not yours. So, like my student, if my student, if that I give, let's say, data structures class, a lot of hard assignments, this and that, and then we say, well, after you graduate, you're going to become like a person doing food truck business. I would say, well, what's the point then? Like, I shouldn't have studied data structures at all, right? Or imagine my student, after taking data structures, going through all this hardship, we will kill you. Just after the graduation, in the graduation ceremony, rather than giving you a diploma, we will give you a bullet in the head. So this student, what would the student say? Like, why shall I study? But if I say, no, after graduating from this school, your education doesn't stop really. I mean, you learned, and while learning, if you are a good student, you can enjoy as you're learning, but as you're practicing this in your professional life, you will learn even more. And learning itself is fun. And you can experience this in this life, right? When you learn doing something, you enjoy it. Like the creator really put, joy in learning. Or the creator put joy in doing something. Like the other day, my daughter, like at home, we were looking for some activity to do with her, just cutting the cardboard and trying to make a building with it. And we just partially did it. We didn't even finish it. But doing something together with my daughter is a joy for me and is a joy for her. The creator put a joy in action in this life. Very interesting. Pay attention to that, really. Drinking water, you get joy out of that. Why? Did you have to get joy? It could have been that the food has no taste. But the creator put taste in water, in food, so that as he is making you feed your body, he immediately gives you a payment, saying that, oh, since you fed the body, because this body is a trust, it's not yours, it's creator's body, like it's creator's property, let me put it this way. But he says, oh, Ahmed, I entrusted this to you, but you should be feeding it up. But since I will be employing you in this job, I'm immediately paying you the reward as well. As you put the food, he immediately gives you the joy in there. Or raising kids is a hard business. The creator says, okay, I entrusted you these kids. I would like to teach you something with these kids. This is why I entrusted those kids to you. But I know it's laborious job, so I immediately give you joy within the act of caressing your child. Reward is right there. In the action, there's reward right there. This is how the creation is. We should pay attention to this. It didn't have to be like that. It is intentionally must be made as such. This is why we should be thankful for all those joys of life. Now extrapolate it, because death is there, and it is annihilating all of these if death is the end. But Quran comes and says, I made you, I created you, I know, and I put this desire for eternity in you too, and the desire for meaning in you. Because if death is the end, then there's no meaning. there's no purpose, and it is a cruel, it's very cruel. Creator says, yes, I know. This is why actually this life is just an education for you. And when you get your degree, I will take you elsewhere where you will practice what you learned. You will keep enjoying more. You're going to not have the stresses of due dates and whatnot, but now you will start practicing and enjoying what you learned. And actually, you will keep learning in professional life too. You will keep increasing in paradise too. Yes, Abdul.
So, you know how
Yeah, we'll talk about how to get into Jannah. Okay, we will talk about how to get into Jannah. There was a comment here. Let me also read that. Zareen says, paradise is something I need because I am faced with a finite existence, but have a desire for eternity. Yes, very beautiful. Jazakallah khair. So, what is paradise then? Paradise is where the struggle ends. Paradise starts when struggle ends. Okay? So this is why we shouldn't be asking the question of, oh, when I enter to the paradise, will I still have this struggle? Let me ask it from reverse. Like Prophet ﷺ says, good smell, woman, and prayer is made dear to me. Right? Good smell and women, you understand that. This is human nature. And it says, Creator made me love this. How about prayer? As you said, prayer is something that my nafs is struggling. If you can start enjoying prayer, which you can, because Prophet says it was made dear to me, it's something lovable to me, it's not something that I grudge against, right? So I should ask the question, oh, then there must be something wrong with me to the extent that I am struggling with, let's say, enjoying the prayer. I should ask the question, why I do not enjoy prayer? That would be because either I do not see it as meaningful enough, because this is why I would resist it. Like, for example, if you have a child and your child is about to be crushed by a car, you will jump under the car and push your child, right? Lovingly, you will do that. You're killing yourself. Normally, you would never do that. It's going to be painful and everything, right? But you see the point of saving your child. You have this mercy. The reward you get in there, and you appreciate that so much so that you sacrifice your life for doing this, right? It's not sacrificing your morning sleep. It is sacrificing your life. People do that. You have the potential to do that too, right, Abdullah? Because you see the point of it there. For the prayer, as I am struggling with the prayer, let's say, for waking up for Fajr and this and that, it probably is because I don't see the point of it as much as I should. Even if I see it intellectually here and there, my feelings are not convinced about it. Human is a complex creature. Human is not simply consisting of intellect. Maybe my ego is not letting me, or maybe my laziness says, oh, it's not enough. The reward is not enough. I don't see the point, right? You do see the point when you save the life of your child. You have this feeling, right? You see the immediate point. This life should not be wasted with the car. I'm ready to sacrifice mine to save his life or her life, right? You get into paradise when you start seeing the meaning and purpose in there. Let me wrap it up to a meaningful point. We say Qur'an is guidance. Qur'an is guidance even when it talks about the verses in paradise, right? But without getting into paradise, I can never confirm them. How is this guidance then? How am I going to bear witness to how paradise is? Because Quran is describing me paradise. And even Prophet says, whatever you imagine about paradise, paradise is not that. Yet Quran talks about paradise, and Quran is guidance. Do you see the problem here? Like if it's guidance, like the treasure map, like a treasure map is a guidance. And you should be able to go and find the treasure somewhere to confirm that, oh yes, you were telling the truth. If somebody says that, oh, here's the treasure map, but you know what, you can never find that treasure. You would say, well, what sort of a guidance is that? Or if they say, well, this treasure map is here, but in this life you will never find it. So how am I going to confirm the truthfulness of this treasure map then? Maybe it's a lie. How can I confirm it? Because we need to bear witness to Quran as well, right? How are you going to bear witness the imagery of Quran about paradise? So it should be possible, well, actually, it must be possible that I can confirm all those verses about paradise when I'm on earth. Likewise, I must be able to confirm the verses about hell when I'm in this life. This is a bold statement. How come? Why is that important? Because this is going to bring me to Abdullah's question. Actually, you can enter paradise or confirm paradise when you're living on this earth. And an example for that would be, you will start enjoying prayer when you're on earth. Because not enjoying prayer when you're on earth means you don't see the meaning in there. But as you will start seeing meaning in there, this is where paradise starts. Is it being too cryptic? Too cryptic, Rida? So let's open it up a little bit. We are getting serious. So paradise is described as a place where if you call a tree, bring me fruit, it immediately brings fruit to you, right? And the trees of paradise are mentioned as their roots are at the sky and their branches are down, like upside down trees. Very interesting imagery. What does that even mean, right? Because on earth, trees rooted on ard, earth, and apparently get something from there and give it to me. But in paradise, it's just the reverse. And it says, once you take something from the tree, it immediately gets renewed. You don't wait for the season for that the fruits are going to grow. What does this even mean? What that means is paradise is a place where the causality that you observe in here does not exist. Because in here, you grab the fruit from tree and you think it's coming from tree in those time frame, right? In paradise, it's immediately gets replaced. And you know that it's from your creator. It's not from the tree. This is paradise. Paradise is a place where you know that everything is from your creator. You don't have any doubt that, oh, well, maybe it's because of the rain and then the earth and then the soil and then the genes and everything, right? What does this mean? Can you become conscious of your creator when you're on earth such that when you take apple from the tree, you don't see the tree has any share in making of the tree, in making of the apple. If you can start seeing that, which means taking the apple consciously by saying, Bi ismi Allah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, oh tree, I'm not taking this from you actually, I'm taking it from my creator. That means you are stepping into paradise already. Because normally what happens? If you take an apple from the tree, number of apples in the tree reduces by 1, right? It's reducing. But if you are taking apple from the treasury of your creator, you would know that, oh, this didn't reduce the number of apples in my creator's treasures. If you are taking the apple from tree, it reduces the amount of apples in the tree, right? But if this apple is coming from the treasury of your creator, would it decrease the number of apples that your creator creates? No, it does not. This is why, if you are conscious, like people of taqwa, as I will pull up the verse here, you don't see it, but online recording will see it. Let me just read the beginning of the verse. This is from Surah Muhammad, verse number 15. مَثَلُ الْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي وَعِدَ الْمُتَّقُونَ. The parable of Jannah, paradise, that is promised to the God conscious is as follows. The verse starts by saying, method. What is going to be said is going to be a parable. Okay? Parable is a metaphor. It's just like for you to understand something, I'm going to give an example. It's not going to be exactly what you will see, but I am trying to give you an example so that you can relate to. And this is an example given to whom? Not to human, not to random person, to a person who is God conscious. Okay? فيها أنهار من ماء غير آسن. In it are rivers of water incorruptible. وأنهار من لبن لم يتغير طعمه. Rivers of milk of which the taste never changes. Which is the part that Dua doesn't like that much. She says, why is it milk? It should have been iPhone. Rivers of iPhone. Abdullah. Interesting people. وأنهار من خمر لذة للشاربين. And rivers of wine, a joy to those who drink. Interesting, wine. I don't know how it tastes like. وأنهار من عسل مصفى. And rivers of honey, pure and clear. ولهم فيها من كل الثمرات ومغفرة من ربهم. And for them all kinds of fruits and grace or forgiveness from their Lord. This is the parable, but it's a parable, it's a metaphor, right? So, coming back to my example with the apple tree, if I can start seeing apple as a gift of my creator here, then I can confirm what Jannah should or could be like. The verses explained in here, I can confirm them in here, and then I would say, oh, paradise is going to be more of that. It's not alien to me. This is why the imagery of Jannah is given based on the imagery that you experience here. Because you can confirm the presence of Jannah when you are in here. And then you can say, well, it's even more. My claim is that human can get into Jannah when they are on earth. Yes.
I'm thinking kind of bear witness to it.
Okay.
I'm thinking like hell is kind of easy, because you do get burned in this life. Like sometimes you're thinking something wrong. And I don't know like if everyone takes it that way, but sometimes like I'm thinking like something like I'll hit my toe or something and I'll be like, okay, like that's an immediate like punishment and a reminder from God, like I need to revert my thoughts or whatever. And I mean, we do see people, like meeting terrible ends over here. Like, for example, some dictator who gets like a disease for very long, and your parents are like, oh, like this is God's punishment. So it's sort of like a little hell on earth. And I was thinking, like, we also do see paradise as well, like within our lives as well. But it's like made clearer if you think of like an example of like a really rich person from like one of those like rich TV shows. And it's like what does it mean to have like rivers of milk and honey? It's basically a never-ending source, right? Like as far as you need it, it's not going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens with these people, like if they want like mangoes from Pakistan, all they have to do is ask, and their servants are going to bring them mangoes from Pakistan. Doesn't matter whether or not there's a shortage happening in Pakistan. As far as they are concerned, they're getting whatever they need. They're getting whatever they're asking for. So we do see, that Allah is making these people like ghani in this life. And we do see like a God is, like punishing other people. Or, I mean, of course, it's all relative because sometimes like good people are also getting, pain or whatever. But still, like you do see like people who are experiencing like this richness or never ending sources and people who are experiencing pain and torture.
So in this case, like paradise in this life, how have you or can you experience it? Let's make it practical. Otherwise, I feel like it's going to be very abstract. How can you experience paradise? Or have you ever experienced paradise in this life?
Like love or feeling togetherness with family. Like when, like, for example, when you were spending time with your daughter, like that's, like you're truly happy, you feel satisfied, your heart is at ease.
If you do not remember or think about you dying or them dying. Because the moment you start thinking about this, those moments of joy becomes very hurting. Like I was leaving the house the other day and Ali was waving hands from the window. And I waved back to him. I said, well, Yusuf, would you be able to walk like this if you know that you won't see him once you come back from work? I don't know what's going to happen as I live, but would you be happily waving hands back to him? And that put a pain in my joy. Because separation is there, and separation puts pain into your joy. It can potentially be, yes, a moment of paradise, but there are many things which makes it painful, isn't it? There was a hand.
What is the meaning? Like, is happiness defined as paradise? Like, what do you mean when you say, like, can you experience paradise on earth?
Yeah, paradise should be somewhere where I am totally satisfied. I don't need to worry about anything. Well, how come is this going to be possible here? What could give you this eternal satisfaction? Yes. Yes. Why would you be happy with that? Because somebody that keeps providing to you, but one day you're not going to need that air anymore. Like you say, well, even if everywhere is filled up with air, I don't need it anymore. But you can enjoy the provider of the air because you say that he is eternal. And as much as he makes me, I am eternal. And I don't care if I will need to breathe air at this moment or in a different way. As long as I am made existent, I am satisfied.
Really hard to make it up. Peace that all bad things
As long as I see the meaning there. Like my students taking data structures, those who don't see any meaning in those assignments, they hate the class. They say, well, you're torturing us. But once they start seeing, oh, yeah, this is going to be useful for that purpose and whatnot, then the class is still hard, but they enjoy the hardness of the class. So do I see the point of this life? Yeah.
I'm going to extrapolate on that is like there's a lot of painful things that happen in one's life and you cannot be satisfied about all of them. Like, yes, you can say they were created to perfection, but at the end of the day, when you try to see what is the message, it's not clear. Like I would say 90% of the time it's not clear.
Yeah, but for 10% of the time it's clear. So you know that it can be clear,
it can,
which means the remaining can also become clear.
but then again, it's a question like, is it your delusion, like as we were discussing on Tuesday, or is it like really that?
Whatever it is it possible for you to make it clear? I think this is what matters. Like there is a way for you to attain this, and go and walk that walk
On
path.
at that moment, it is not attainable. Like even the 10% that I'm talking about is like when you're looking back at things and then say, that is why it makes sense. But
Okay.
I'm talking about being in the moment. Do you feel like that?
Well, I mean, my students would struggle in the assignments. Like if it was already clear to them at the moment, then they wouldn't learn anything, because learning happens by you stumbling upon a roadblock, something that you do not know, that you cannot figure out at the moment. This is why you will start walking around it, which is called the process of learning. And then once make sense of it, this becomes the learning and you start enjoying it. This is how learning is defined for you, isn't it? It takes time. Like if the point is that, no, whatever roadblock I see, immediately I should be able to find the answer, then there's no learning happening there, isn't it? Like we are talking about human.
But in the class, you know what you're going to learn. Like in real life scenarios, you go through a lot of different things. You're not sure like what you're going to learn through anything that happens in your life.
I don't think so. I disagree in the sense that, do I have a motivation? Because in the classroom, there could be some lazy student, like, let me find a lazy student, like Abdullah. So he is there, he doesn't know or he doesn't care what he's going to learn. Otherwise, the syllabus is there. Like if he pay attention and look at it and whatnot, he can get a sense of what he is going to learn in the class. But he says, and some students happen like this, oh, I am too confused. What are you talking about and whatnot? And this happens a lot with certain students, which happened on Thursday. It's as fresh as Thursday. I talked about the answer of a question for more than half an hour. Then the student says, what is the answer? I said, well, I already talked about the answer. Says, is the answer such and such? I said, no. And then he said, oh, it's very confusing. So like, this is what we have been talking about for the past half hour. And the student doesn't want to take the blame on himself and wants to put the blame on the teacher. Maybe, Kadir. Check whether you're a good student, or I should be. I mean, it applies to everybody. I should be checking whether I am a good student rather than putting the blame on the teacher and saying that you're not teaching well. Yes.
If we take this world to be as a learning and just as a learning, then I'm thinking, okay, like as long as I think, there's life after graduation and there's a graduation, my university studies give me, right? So I go to class and they're teaching me engineering ethics, right? And I'm like, okay, like it's very important. Like you have to be ethical, you have to make your decisions right. Then I graduate and all of a sudden they're like, oh, forget ethics. There are no ethics here. Like you can just go on, like make that bridge however you want to, like forget about the people you're gonna kill. Like that doesn't make sense to me, because if this world is a learning and it's a training, then I'm like, okay, no, I'm not gonna drink alcohol. I'm not gonna drink alcohol. 20 years later, let's say I go to paradise and God is like, oh, here's rivers of alcohol free. I'm like, what did I do all that training for? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So what's the point of abstaining from alcohol, let's say? Abdullah, what do you think? Any other question there?
Yeah, it's just my whole paradigm of what Jannah was like, and the relation of the world to Jannah is just very different.
Okay.
This is how I think of it. I didn't used to think of the world as a learning process. I used to think of it more as a test. And that's a completely different mindset, right? So it's not so much about practicing for what you do in Jannah. It's being tested here, and Jannah is the reward for doing well in the test. That's how I think about it. Pass the test, you go to Jannah. You don't pass the test, you go to Jannah. Or you might be one of the people that's like fall off the Jannah eventually. But that might so I would interpret the ayat narrations about Jannah literally. There are going to be rivers of food. It's not a metaphorical thing that I have to interpret what the meaning of this. Like it's just prayer, salawat, you fast in Ramadan, you do good deeds, and you fight your desires, and you go to Jannah. That's just how I see it. So this is all very new.
Okay.
Like, the world is like the learnings that for.
I mean, the reason that there is a room for interpretation is multiple things. First, Prophet, even he himself says, whatever you think about Jannah, Jannah is different than that, right? So, and if you say, well, it's literally rivers of honey, Prophet would say, it's not that. Right? Not me, Prophet is saying that. And the verse that we are now studying is starting with Mathalul Jannah. Like it's a parable of what Jannah is going to be like. And also, we need to take into account Qur'an is a guidance. This is an important part. Qur'an is a guidance because it really, really changes how we understand Qur'an. If I take it as a guidance, which means, and it's a guidance, it's a thing that I need to bear witness to at the same time. Like it's, I bear witness, this is speech of God, right? How do you bear witness to that? This is very important. Like if they call me in the court and say that Abdullah killed somebody, and they give me enough money and they say, well, would you bear witness that Abdullah killed somebody? I haven't seen you killing anybody. I say, yeah, I bear witness Abdullah killed the guy. Give me $1 billion. What would I be called in this case? A huge liar. I haven't seen it, but I am just verbally doing witnessing so that I get bribed, right? So how do I bear witness to Quran? If I say, well, I want to get into paradise, so I should say, yeah, it's speech of God. So, okay, it's speech of God. Have you seen it? Like, have you confirmed it? Do you have a first-hand witnessing account of it? Or you're doing it because you're going to get bribed by some eternal happiness and whatnot? Shut up. Yeah, it's, you see?
Yeah, but I don't think it's the day of judgment is not your words that matter, your actions.
Yep.
So it doesn't really matter if you lie, like you can't, it's not possible because you don't speak through your intellect, through your actions.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to say you bear witness to something if you didn't live that way.
Exactly. This is why, like, as you were saying, if I am struggling for Fajr prayer, this is my actions, right? That means, although I might be saying that, oh, yes, I believe in God, I bear witness to this and that, it's not translating into my Fajr prayer. And what would count for would be how I live, how I feel, how I sense, right? So it doesn't translate. So this is why Quran is a guidance, meaning I should be able to apply it somewhere. I should be able to make sense of it. And as now this verse is saying that this is a method, I should be able to see rivers of milk, rivers of honey. And you know what? I will today show you rivers of honey. Imagine all the honey that's being produced today in this globe of Earth. They are being produced here and there. But in your imaginations, combine them together, okay? And imagine it's flowing from here. Like those honey come from out of bees' mouth, right? Imagine all the bees I collected in your imagination, collect all the bees into this room, and they're right now producing all this honey. There will be a river of honey that will flow out of Drexel, and it's going to take over the market street, right? There is a river of honey being created even today. Where does this honey come from? Practically nowhere. Like it's, bees are throwing up, they're vomiting. Such an ugly thing is becoming this river of honey. What is the cause? The apparent cause is an insect vomiting. The outcome is something as beautiful and tasty as honey. The creator says, I am the creator of it. You can observe rivers of honey even when you're here. But you need to ask the question, is it the bee that produces this honey? Bee doesn't know it's a perfectly cooked food. Like when humans are trying to synthesize, like they put sugar and whatnot, and it goes bad very quickly. This illiterate animal, bee, somehow is collecting the best ingredients and cooking it, even without learning how to do it. Bee is born, within a few hours, goes and starts collecting pollen, starts making honey. How come? Where did this knowledge come from? Where did this mercy come from? There must be someone who creates honey. So rivers of honey is visible in this existence. If you pay attention, if you are muttaqun, if you are God conscious, look at it with this lens. Alternatively, you can also look at it from a causality perspective. You can say that, billions of years of evolution, and now the bees are able to produce this honey. They don't need to know and this and that. In this case, what happened? You don't see the river anymore. What you see is, well, why are you collecting the idea, you would say? You would say, well, it's just an isolated insect somewhere producing honey. With the perspective of tawheed, you can connect so many bees because you say all of them are coming from the same source. Or a muwahhid, a person who believes in tawheed, can only such a person see rivers of honey, even in this world, because you will connect them together. Tawheed makes you connect them. This is very important. Unbelief doesn't let you do that. Milk, rivers of milk as well. There are even larger rivers of milk now. Imagine all the cows, all the goats and sheep, and rivers and rivers of milk is being created. Where is it coming from? Coming from a piece of meat. And right behind this meat is just dirt. Like where it comes from is from in between dirt and blood. Such a nice and clean. It's a very interesting creation, actually. The color of milk being white, as if the creator is saying that, look, from so much dirt, potential dirt, I create such a clean thing, such a contrast. It should capture our attention, saying, just you should ask the question, why did the creator chose the color white for milk? To contrast you that, look where it is coming from, and look how pure it is. This is the contrast. So saying that the one who cooks this milk is not the person from where it is coming out. Because when it comes to miracle of Salih alayhi salam, seeing a camel coming out of a rock, we see it to be miraculous. A pure drink like milk coming from in between blood and dirt as a pure milk is equally a miracle. But since we kept seeing it for so many times, we feel like, well, it has to come as such. If you look at it from Tawheed perspective, you will start seeing the rivers of milk in this life. And once you see that, you will start stepping into paradise. Why? Because that means the veil of causality is being lifted from your eyes. You see the animal bringing the milk, but you don't see the animal as the source anymore. You know that it's coming from your creator. Because Jannah is a place where you know where everything comes from. I'm not only talking about intellectual. With all your consciousness or all your feelings, right? You know that this is coming from eternally merciful one, eternally knowledgeable one, all-knowing one, all-caring one. Your thanks doesn't go to, oh, what type of cow is that? Oh, it's a Pakistani breed. Oh, no, it's a Dutch breed. You don't say these anymore. You say that it is the creation of my creator. And I'm thankful to my creator. You truly then say, Alhamdulillah. All praise to Allah. There's a praiseworthy thing in this milk. It belongs to its maker, not to the cow. Right? So if you look at things with the lens of Tawheed, you can confirm these verses when you're on earth. And you would say, of course, even on this earth, there are rivers of milk. There are rivers of honey. There are all sorts of fruits that my creator creates. And you would say, well, in an eternal life, of course, more. All different types, everything. Sure. You wouldn't have any doubt about it. Then this verse really becomes a guidance for you, something confirmable. But this depends on how you read verses. Are you reading the verse for finding guidance? Something that you should be bearing witness to? Or you will say that, well, I will eventually see it, or I can never know it anyways. If this would have been the point, you would never be instructed. like the verses that which starts with إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ, when it asks, how are you going to know about Laylatul Qadr? If that means you can never know about it, then stop reading there. If I can never know it, then don't mention it, you would say, right? All these verses are so that the Creator says, you cannot know it by yourself, but let me tell you what it is. I will explain it to you because you need to know it. Likewise, Jannah, you need to know what Jannah is. Let me give you an example, a parable of it, so that you can relate to it, so that you can confirm it and make your life meaningful and purposeful. So, and the reason we have been talking about this life being an education is, this is how, like you can confirm this in various ways. If you would like to go with Quran, Quran started by saying, read in the name of your Lord. This is the duty Quran loads to you, beginning with its first revelation, saying that this is your duty. This is what you're here for, to learn. To read how? In the name of your Lord. This is your purpose. Because the word test is a little bit annoying for this age. Because in this age, education became mass education. Education was not like that before. Like last 150 years, this mass education became a thing, and there's no adjustment of curriculum per person. This is why I am reluctant to use life as a test. Like it could have been more meaningful in the past, but nowadays the word test comes with an irritating feeling. Why? Because we are pushing the same education from everybody's throat, and we are asking them the same question, and you are less interested, he is more interested, and you are hating it, he is liking it. This was not the case in the past. In the past, everybody was going to a teacher, and it was one-on-one instruction, and teacher was adjusting to the students' capacity. This is how it is in this existence as well. The Creator gives you a different life that you can bear, another life to Natalia that she can bear, because it's an education. This is why we need to adjust the word test. It's not something to be hated. Tests are tools for learning as well, right? That's why I do midterm and final to my students, so that they learn, not to punish them or to reward them only. Punishment and reward is the outcome of their learning process. Yes, sorry.
I understand. I also still feel like test is closer to, like what this life is. And if it's an irritating feeling, then so be it. Life is irritating. Like when you go through a test in this life, for example, when you lose a family member, you are still going through that feeling of like, I want to talk to this person. I want to talk to my mom, but she's not there anymore. And it's irritating and it's difficult to deal with, but that's fine. And there's also that element of, like the better you prepare for a test, the less painful it's going to be for you.
So, I mean, the irritation is you need to give a purpose to the test itself. It sounds like test for the sake of test, or test for who is good, who is bad. And when we talk about who is good, who is bad, what we think is eternally, Ahmed is a bad guy, Abdullah is a good guy. And God needs to figure out who is good, who is bad. Doesn't make sense either, right?
Not with that. It makes sense. Allah already. Life, yeah.
Okay.
So when you phrase it that way, it's a source of truth, not the source of knowledge. So it's not Allah isn't trying to prove which of us is better in action.
But why?
So on the day of judgment, you're gonna come with a different arguments because
But
the proof is going to be how you live your life.
no, the point is, what is the purpose overall? To prove you something. Like in the first place, do not create the guy then. Isn't it? We need to read those verses from our perspective, not from God's perspective. it's a guidance for us. The Creator is speaking to me. We are trying to read it from God's perspective. This is why we are struggling to understand these verses. Because you cannot read it from God's perspective. How can you put yourself in quote unquote God's shoes? Like we are talking about a being who is totally unlike anything, right? But sometimes we tend to speak as if, yeah, I can understand how God feels, or I mean, this is how it sounds like, right? I want to prove Ahmed that he is a lazy guy. Like something is going wrong there. This is what I'm trying to say. Quran is a guidance for you, which means you should have some problems, some troubles. And then Quran comes to answer or fix that problem. If for example, I have a problem with somebody testing me just for testing me, I am made to be taking this offensive. Like for instance, if I was here sitting and just looking at your sitting and just judging you, Hadith, you would hate this attitude, right? I mean, why are you doing that? But if I explain you that, oh, for this and that, you're going to be doing this, then you will say, oh yeah, it makes sense. Like if my students take my exams as I am just trying to please my ego by asking hard questions to them, they would hate me, rightfully. The point is, I am created in this life. I am made in a way that I have questions, I have troubles in life, and I need guidance. Then I should sit before Quran with this mindset. How are you solving my problems? Really, I am in need of solutions, and it looks like this is the source of solution. I should read them as if you are so thirsty and you find water in the desert. You know how you would love that water, right? So do you see Quran as such? Because it should be addressing my needs as such. And you would taste every single drop of that water, won't you, if you were in that desert? When this verse, the one that now I have here is Surah Muhammad, verse number 15, talking about paradise, I should say, well, how is this addressing my needs? Talking about milk or honey, rivers. If I ask such questions, Quran will start talking to me and I will start benefiting from it. Generally, what we tend to do is, though, we don't drink Quran, but we take it as a burden on our shoulders. What I mean by that burden is, I cannot make sense of it, but it looks like I have to accept it because if I challenge it or whatnot, I'm going to go into hell. We have this fear, but we carry it on our shoulders. And when an atheist asks a question, generally it's an atheist because we are not courageous enough to ask it ourselves. An atheist says, why are you carrying this burden on your shoulder? And I am now starting to spin, trying to come up with an explanation to my atheist friend. This doesn't have to be like that. You should be able to drink every single drop of this Quran and enjoy it. Quran, when talks about the scholars, Abdullah, you can remember the beginning of the verse. How was the beginning of the verse? Change Tawrat with Quran in there. Would apply, wouldn't it? Like, because those who carried Torah like just carrying a book on their shoulders like a donkey could have been very well, because Quran speaks to me, right? Saying that, oh, are you carrying Quran in your shoulders just like a donkey carrying a book in their shoulder? What does this mean? You're not even aware of what you're carrying. You're just carrying it as a burden, not as a source of guidance for you, right? Yeah.
I
Okay.
what I agree with part understanding. You can't understand everything, and you don't need to understand everything. And this is the reason. If I took a survey in random population and ask them what color this drink was, right? I would have some colorblind people in the survey. I would have some blind people in the survey. I'll have some people with perfect eyesight in the survey. Some people tell me it's green, it's green, some people tell me it's yellow, some people tell me it's blue. I'll get a whole range of different answers. But if I wanted to know what the actual color was, I would remove the blind people, and I would remove the colorblind people, and focus on only the people that actually know what they're seeing. And the answer would be more unanimous, and there would be less discrepancies, and the answer that I would get would be more accurate. And I can take that answer and apply it to everyone else. So the people that can't see, even if they tell me that it's pink, I'll tell them it's yellow, and their opinion does not matter. So whether or not they understand how it's yellow or not does not matter. But they have to understand that I lack knowledge. Therefore, I have to take whatever this person that has knowledge tells. So with that example, if Allah is the most knowledgeable person, most knowledgeable being, if Allah tells us to do something, if someone is able to understand deductively or inductively, however, that Allah is the one that created everything and we should worship Allah, and Allah is the all-knowledgeable one, then if you're able to understand that, then you don't need to understand anything else. Because if you can agree that the person that told you that this thing is yellow knows what they're saying, you don't need an explanation. So, like, for example, when I was young, I didn't want to go to school. My friends were like 6 years. My friends were driving to school. I didn't want to go to school. If they had made up to me to try to convince me on the importance of school, they would have spent years doing that. And by that time, it would be too late for me. So it was good that they forced me to go to school even when I didn't want to, because they knew better and I didn't know better. So from that logic, we don't have to understand everything that the Quran told us. There's some things that you can just take and be like, oh, I said do this, I'm doing it, I don't need a reason. And if someone comes to me and asks me, can you explain why you're doing it? My answer is going to be, because Allah is all knowledgeable and Allah told me to do it. Person is like, well, that's not convincing. So even Allah told the Prophet, don't be just convince everyone just to believe the message. So whether I'm able to convince anyone else, and even some of my atheist friends, like sometimes the arguments get into it, I can convince you, but I don't have to convince you, I just have to tell you. So that's basically how I see it. But I don't think like I'm sitting down and trying to understand why we pray for that standing first and then doing like you don't have to understand all
So,
this.
but again, like praying, standing, these actions are a minimal part of Quran. It's not the majority of Quran, is it? So, like the actions, I'm not talking about why I'm doing it this way or that way. You can still search for wisdom in there. It's a separate thing. I'm not even talking about why pork is not permissible, this is permissible. I'm not even talking about that. Like, for example, the example today we read is description of paradise. And Quran itself is mentioning it as a parable. So if it's a parable, that means I'm going to come up with an example to you so that you understand what in reality it is. It's not the description of the actual thing. It's already inviting you to understand the way it speaks. You cannot imitate. Bearing witness cannot be done by imitation. This is the fundamental difference here, right? And your atheist friend is just atheist friend's question is just a litmus test for you, for your conviction. But you don't have to convince him, right? But me not being able to convince my friend shows that how much am I convinced? This is my concern. Otherwise, I don't really care about convince my friend being convinced or not. I had a friend who asked me questions and who didn't get convinced at the end. But that revealed to me that I was not convinced in the first place. And this was the bothering thing for me. That friend, maybe even if I'm going to bring the best of the explanation, he would insist not to accept. You cannot change their heart. It's their problem. But the problem is, am I convinced? And sometimes those questions are revealing to me that I am not there. This is why I value those questions, not on the account of them, on the account of myself. And if the Creator gave me this heart, if the Creator gave me these desires, if the Creator gave me this intellect, and they are yearning for answers, it should be that He would give answers, and He gave the answers. So shutting them off is not a virtue. It might be an escape route. that's fine. If you wouldn't like to take it, fine. But it's not a virtue. It's just saying that I don't want to get in there because I'm afraid to lose something. I would understand that. But it's not a virtue. The virtue would be that the Creator is inviting you to a struggle, a jihad, and you go with that jihad saying that, oh, questions are there, rather than saying that, okay, whatever you say is correct, I will accept. The Creator gave you the answer. The Creator gave you the qualities to make sense of the answer. The struggle would be, let me take it and understand it and confirm it. That would be the way to go. And there's nothing wrong with that, actually. And this is even encouraged. And you don't have to understand everything. Yes, you will not. That's why you're given 80 years of life. Like, it's a process. But are you trying to understand? Or are you saying that I cannot figure it out anyways, let me give up from the very beginning? Because generally this is being the attitude. Since I cannot understand anything, let me not even try to understand it. This is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to take that route. You can say that, yes, I am admitting my limitation, but at least I will try to learn it. I will try to make sense of the things that I can make sense of. And there are going to be many more that I'm not able to make sense of. But at least I know that potentially I can make sense of them too, eventually. Because Quran is here, because prophetic example is here. I can potentially make sense of them too. This is why you would say, like, at some point in the past, I was very anxious. When those questions showed up, I was getting shaken by every atheistic question, saying that, oh, am I in the wrong? I was not able to control or manage those questions. And later on, I came to a understanding that those questions are foods for thought to me, again, by my Creator. Like, my Creator is employing Satan to ask those questions, let's say. Let's put it this way, as Quranic way of metaphoric speech for that. But those questions are invitations for you so that you learn more. I said, well, after a point, I said, I don't have an answer immediately right now, but this is a good question. Note it down. Sometimes it takes 3 years. Sometimes it takes 5 years to find an answer to that question. But it's being very fruitful. Now I'm not afraid of questions. I'm not afraid of, oh, I'm not able to explain everything. I'm not able to explain the 80%, as Qadir says. But now I am seeing that, well, I can potentially answer those questions. And I'm, rather than complaining about the 80%, I am being thankful for the 20%. And I am being asking, like making dua for what is in there. This makes life a joyful learning experience. So I would suggest changing the perspective as such so that we can start enjoying paradise when we are on earth. Yes. Wine. So, like, in terms of wine, this I think will go back to Dua's question as well. So things that are forbidden here, why are they becoming like permissible in there? Maybe. But main point is something being haram in here, is it because they are bad and then they are made haram? Or they are bad because they are made haram? What I mean is pork inherently bad? Is alcohol inherently bad? Or God made it a haram, this is why we call it bad? If you take it the first way, it's inherently bad and God made it haram, then it really becomes a question, well, how come it's going to become good in paradise and whatnot? But what is having an inherent value in this existence? Everything is judged or determined by their maker. So if the Creator says pork is halal today, would you not eat pork? The owner says for a purpose, don't eat it. This is why we don't eat it. just as a sign to show that this is yours and I confirm this. In paradise, if he says, okay, now you can eat it, I will enjoy eating it. Because the purpose is fulfilled. The tool was there to teach you something, and the purpose is fulfilled. And he says, okay, now you can do it. The purpose is fulfilled. Still a question there? No? There was a comment, Zarin says, one thing that still gives me some anxiety is the aspect of the different ranks or levels of Jannah. The idea that I don't really deserve Jannah without Allah's mercy, but then I am still placed in a certain rank confuses me. It feels like I'll miss out on something I don't try to attain the highest level. So Zarin, that's right. But that's like the way that that's explained is, let's say you're going to be in the same paradise with the Prophet ﷺ, but in this world also, you are in the same paradise with the Prophet ﷺ. It is the same Qur'an before you and before the Prophet ﷺ, but Prophet was enjoying every single drop of Qur'an. So let's put it this way. We are in the same paradise of Qur'an. Prophet enjoys it 1,000,000%. But due to my laziness or whatever, because I didn't put enough effort to understand Qur'an, I am observing 2%, 5%, whatever. We are sitting side by side. But since he used his qualities at the utmost level, he enjoys the very same Jannah much more than you and I. And do I notice what I am missing? I don't know. Do you notice what you are missing in Quran? You don't know because you never tasted it. This is why you won't be jealous of the other people in Jannah, because you don't know what you're missing. But potentially, what this says is try to attain, like use your tools better in this life so that you're going to enjoy paradise more. But we can confirm this in this life too, right? If I am having a bad sight, but Ahmed has 20/20 perfect sight, we go to the same art museum, and since I cannot see with Ahmed's eyes, I don't know what I'm missing really. So Ahmed will enjoy looking at it with all the details. With my less than perfect sight, I will miss many of the points in the same art museum. But we are going to be sitting side by side. This is how Jannah is explained. So you will be together with prophets, but actually you'll be in the same Jannah, but in different Jannahs, because your perception is not as good. But you won't be jealous because you wouldn't know about this either, which is the case in here as well. So very beautiful Qur'ans. If we take it as guidance, we can confirm all these even in this life. So let's conclude here. Any comments? We are over time already. What's it?
Same topic next week.
Same topic next week. We are already done with paradise. Okay. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم